Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including the real reason why WWE is keeping it PG, Drew McIntyre storms off a radio show, Vince McMahon's lawsuit resumes, Paige furious about another leak, WWE's next star, people in AEW are appalled, a big return on SmackDown, and much more. Now first story looks at the lawsuit against Vince McMahon resumes. At top of today's news is the announcement that the Janelle Grant civil lawsuit against Vince McMahon, Laurinaitis, and the WWE has resumed per an official court order. You may recall that the lawsuit was paused to give the United States Department of Justice time to conduct its own criminal investigation into any alleged wrongdoing by McMahon. The Observer Figure 4 Online reports that the criminal investigation is still ongoing. The civil case has been allowed to continue. They noted Janelle Grant's legal team releasing this statement. Today, the United States Southern District for New York informed us that they will be letting the state expire on Janelle Grant's lawsuit against former WWE CEO Vince McMahon, WWE executive John Laurinaitis, and WWE for sexual assault and human trafficking. This decision allows Ms. Grant to proceed with their civil charges against McMahon, Laurinaitis, and WWE, while federal prosecutors continue their criminal investigation. Grant's attorney also released a statement saying, "We're pleased that prosecutors for the Southern District of New York have concluded that they can continue their criminal investigation while we bring forward new evidence in our civil case about the sexual exploitation carried out by Janelle Grant's abusers. For the last 6 months, Ms. Grant has patiently waited to hold Vince McMahon, Laurinaitis, and WWE accountable for the sex trafficking and abuse she endured at the company on a near daily basis. Her wait is over, and now we look forward to sharing Ms. Grant's story." WrestleNomics' Brandon Thurston reports that Vince McMahon's attorney Jessica Rosenberg released this brief statement to him. Ms. Grant's representative's self-serving statement is as usual factually incorrect and intellectually dishonest. 2025 should be a busy year for this lawsuit as the case proceeds from the preliminaries and heads into areas such as parties requesting evidence, a process known as discovery, and more information is possibly leaked concerning the plaintiff and the defendants. Just as interesting will be the federal government's investigation of Vince McMahon. Some observers have commented that the criminal investigation might go on in the back burner due to President-elect Donald Trump's friendship with Vince McMahon. Next up, the real reason why WWE is keeping it PG. Why is the WWE staying family-friendly when it's moving over to Netflix, a place where it has arguably greater creative freedom? Triple H and Nick Khan have both stressed that WWE is keeping it as family-friendly content, and the game recently explained during an appearance on the Roommates podcast why there's no need to revert back to the raunchier tone seen during the Attitude Era. So I think we're past it in the sense that the brand is hot enough that we don't need to do that stuff anymore. At that time, we needed it. We were in a war with Ted Turner. Business had not been great, and this was sort of the upswing we needed to do those things to get attention on us and all that. Now the product is hot. There's enough people that WWE is mainstream. I don't feel that there's any stigma if you're a kid and you say, "I'm a huge WWE fan," and your friends are like, "Really?" I think 30 years ago that was maybe the case. There's no denying that the Attitude Era helped the WWE edge out WCW during the Monday Night War, but as Triple H said, what is there to gain now? Next up, Drew McIntyre storms off a radio show. Now if you thought Drew McIntyre was bitter and angry before, watch out as a Scottish Warrior recently went off during an appearance on Busted Open Radio's holiday party. Drew lamented over how much he has sacrificed to this industry and that he can't expect the fans to recognize this or even remember his legacy. "When I leave this industry, I won't be one of those guys chasing that last paycheck, chasing that last shot of glory. Please remember me? No. When I leave and retire, I will accomplish everything. It doesn't matter if you're Mark Henry, Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, Drew McIntyre, or Stone Cold Steve Austin. When you're gone, they move on. They forget. It sucks, but it's true." McIntyre's rant ended with him storming off the set after he said, "So as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the internet, I don't give an F about your opinion." While McIntyre's act is an obvious work, as bear in mind that Busted Open Radio features several wrestlers including Bubba Ray Dudley, Tommy Dreamer, and Mark Henry, it's another example of Drew's effective use of social media and traditional media to forward storylines. Next up, Charlotte Flair appearing this Saturday. Fans awaiting Charlotte Flair's WWE return may want to tune into Saturday night's main event because WrestleVotes is reporting that Flair's return is now imminent and it could happen as early as the 14th December NBC special. Of course, be sure to check out our review of the show as well as any other videos on the PLE. Next up, more legends booked for Saturday night's main event. The WWE hopes to give old school fans a trip down memory lane at this Saturday night's main event with manager Jimmy Mouth of the South Heart already booked and rumors circulating Hulk Hogan will be present. And now PW Insider is reporting that several superstars from this era will be at the show, including Jimmy Hart, Tito Santana, Greg Valentine, and Coco Beware. There's no word on how the WWE plans to use them, but you can be sure old school fans will be happy to see the superstars they grew up watching. Next up, a legend criticizes WWE. There's plenty of hype for Saturday night's main event, including the return of legends from that era. However, WWE Hall of Famer Alundra Blaze wants to know, where are the women? Blaze took to X and commented on a news story that mentioned the various legends booked for the show and said, "Didn't we have women during this era?" Alundra discussed the women of this era and how former women's champion Wendy Richter and Rockin' Robin would have been good additions to the show. While we have heard Wendy Richter's name being mentioned as a possible guest, those rumors have quieted down. But Blaze does raise a good point, as the original Saturday night's main event featured WWF Women's Champion defeating the Fabulous Moolah. Cyndi Lauper, who was involved in the historic angle where she guided Richter to defeating Lou Albano's wrestler, the Fabulous Moolah, for the WWF's women's title, was present at Saturday night's main event, as was actor Mr. T. A reminder of how the rock and wrestling connection that began with a focus on women's wrestling led to the first WrestleMania. Unfortunately, backstage politics led to Richter getting the boot and women's wrestling fading into the background. Nonetheless, its contribution to WWE's national expansion in the mid-80s should be acknowledged. Next up, Paige angry that she's been leaked again. Now, it looks like one of Saraya's Patreon customers leaked information from her Patreon account, leading to the former WWE superstar shaking things up on her Patreon and going off on the account holder who leaked her content. Saraya posted a video on Instagram blasting the person who took the content from her $100 tier and leaked it. Me and my team had decided for Patreon that we're just going to have one tier and it's going to be $10 for everything. All the content that was posted for different tiers, you're going to have to access that. Just $10 a month. I feel like that it's better than a lot of people spending money on there and losing out because it's just going to be free online anyway. The former AEW Women's Champion blasted the person who leaked the content, saying, "And some loser came in there and bought the $100 tier and everything I posted, he just posted online, which is not fair to me, but also not fair to the fans who are on Patreon and spending money." Well, it seems that Saraya has now topped that, as she now has a new tier worth $300 a month of 12 days of feetmas. I mean, you gotta respect the hustle, right? Next up, a former Universal Champion returning to SmackDown. Now, expect a big return on tonight's SmackDown, as Dr. Chris Featherson is reporting that Carmelo Hayes' mystery opponent will be a former Universal Champion. Now, if you want to avoid spoilers, go to the next story, of course. Now, this wrestler is Braun Strowman, as Wrestling News explained where Strowman has been since last appearing on the 1st October episode of Raw. Strowman has been off WWE television for months as he suffered a torn groin while working a last monster standing match against Bronson Reed on the October 1st episode of Raw. On November 15th, Strowman returned to in-ring action for a SmackDown Dark match. Strowman's appearance on SmackDown is interesting because the Monster Among Monsters is a Raw superstar. Could Braun be one of the first wrestlers to move from one brand to another through the trade window? What do you guys think, and do you have any preference for where Braun works? Next up, stars lining up for WrestleMania. Triple H says that there's a mile-long list of celebrities wanting to appear at WrestleMania 41. During his recent Roommates podcast appearance, Hunter revealed that he's cherry-picking through the list based on star power and whether they're a good fit for the show. Do you think Hunter is adding some hyperbole to the story, or is there major celebrities looking to appear? Next up, is this WWE's next star? We'll add Megan Walker to the list of college athletes who may be headed to NXT, as WWE is reportedly eyeing Nebraska track star Megan Walker for WWE NXT. The WWE's new scouting process looks to recruit the creme de la creme, whether it's indie stars through the WWE's ID program or college athletes. Let's all remember that Bianca Belair was also a track star, and look how far she went in the WWE. Could we be looking at the next star? Next up, people in AEW are appalled. Toni Storm is back in AEW under her original persona after she apparently dumped her timeless Toni Storm gimmick. However, critics are blasting AEW's decision to have a debut match take place on Rampage, AEW's equivalent of Velocity. Do you think AEW isn't high on Storm as a wrestler, or is this just mismanagement by AEW? And finally, Jim Ross says that Chris Jericho is the MVP of AEW. Last but not least, Jim Ross isn't holding back on his praise of AEW star Chris Jericho. Good old JR discussed the former AEW World Champion during an appearance of his Grillin' JR podcast. When you see him on AEW, you see good work, you see a smart program. He gets to book his own stuff more often than not, and I'm sure glad we got him. I said many times, arguably over the last 2 or 3 years, he's been the kind of MVP of AEW because he stayed in place. Ross, who called Jericho's matches in WWE, added, "When you see Jericho, you don't look away because you know something's going to happen, and it's going to come out of his mind. He'd make a great booker, no doubt about it in my mind." Now, it's obvious that Ross is still a big fan of Jericho's work, but not everyone agrees. Some fans have been vocal about what they see as Jericho's deteriorated ring skills, and some fans have even chanted "please retire" during Jericho's matches. One fan even responded to Ross's praise of Jericho with this tweet saying, "What happened to JR? Is Tony holding his family hostage?"